ladies and gentlemen of the jury. So I woke up this morning a little worse than I was yesterday, but it's probably good for you because it means I have to keep my voice a little bit lower in order to keep from coughing. So if you'll bear with me, we'll get through this, I promise. Megan Devine, a grief counselor, said, "There is not a reason for everything. Not every loss can be transformed into something useful. Things happen that do not have a silver lining. Some things cannot be fixed. They can only be carried." The evidence is going to show you that that is the unfortunate reality of this case. There was no reason for everything that happened on January 31st of 2020. The losses suffered on that horrible night, the evidence will show, cannot be transformed into anything useful. There is no silver lining to be found in the losses that have been suffered by the Love family, the McCollum family, and the Nueces family. The career-ending injuries suffered by Officer Michael Love, they can't be fixed. Nor can the pain and swelling that Officer Nueces and Officer Love still deal with even to this day. And it was fellow officers and family that were left to carry the heartbreak in the casket of Officer Alan McCollum. The evidence will show that on January 31st of 2020, at approximately 9:42 p.m., CCPD Officer Michael Love engaged in a traffic stop on a truck that was driven by Christopher Lidke. This stop occurred on the Carroll Lane overpass. You'll hear from Mr. Lidke in this trial. At almost the exact same time, Brandon Portillo was leaving Wonders Bar. He was on his way to destroy the lives of 3 CCPD officers and all those who loved them, respected them, and worked with them. He was the Grim Reaper that no one saw coming. Unbeknownst to Officer Michael Love, the evidence is going to show that this would be the last traffic stop he would ever make in his life. Officer Michael Love would be crushed and pinned between his patrol unit and the barrier on the Carroll Lane overpass, suffering multiple pelvic fractures that cannot be fixed. While he would survive his injuries that night, he would be forever physically unable to perform the duties of the career that he loved, that he dedicated his life to. The man he was is gone. You're going to hear from Officer Michael Love first thing this morning. And the evidence will show you that Officer Michael Love's law enforcement career was killed on January 31st, 2020 by Brandon Portillo. Assisting Officer Michael Love in the traffic stop were Officers Alan McCollum and Kaomi Muniz. This would also be the last traffic stop that Officer Alan McCollum would ever make in his career. His life would be ended on January 31st of 2020 when Brandon Portillo struck the truck where Officer McCollum was standing. The evidence is going to show you in the video that you have the truck driven by Christopher Lidke first. You then have the patrol unit driven by Officer Michael Love. He was the initial stop. You have staggered back Officer Alan McCollum's vehicle, and then you have Kaomi Muniz's vehicle even further behind that. Officer McCollum was standing in the back passenger doorway of that white truck. Officer Kaomi Muniz was standing in the front near the hood of the white truck, and Michael Love was at his PD unit with the door open, standing there running information. When Brandon Portillo struck all 3 vehicles and ended up hitting that white truck, Officer Alan McCollum was then struck by that vehicle and he was pushed over the causeway, some 30 to 40 feet, landing on his back. Officer McCollum would go into cardiac arrest approximately 10 minutes later from traumatic trauma to the chest area. He suffered multiple rib fractures. You'll hear from Dr. Ray Fernandez. He basically bled out. That's what happened. Officer Kaomi Muniz would be struck by the front end of the stop truck after it was hit by the vehicle driven by Brandon Portillo. You'll see her body cam video, you'll hear from her, and you'll find out that even now she has pain and swelling in her back and her knees. There's days that she can't function properly, and it will be a forever impairment on her system. So how is the state going to prove this to you? Because that's what you need to know. What kind of evidence are we going to give you? Every minute of this tragedy is on video. I don't have to speculate. You don't have to try to figure it out. This morning, first thing, you're going to see the dash cam video of Officer Michael Love, and you're going to see Alan McCollum go over that overpass. You're going to see Brandon Portillo get out of his truck. No idea what is going on. Staggering, intoxicated, unable to focus, stumbling. Can't figure it out. Has no idea what he's just done. That's how intoxicated he is. You're going to hear Officer Michael Love screaming in pain as he's crushed between that barrier and his patrol unit. And it's not an easy thing to hear, but that's the evidence we have in the case. Every part of it, every part of what happened is on video. There's no question. There's nothing for you to try to figure out. But that is where the story ends. Where does the story begin in this evidence? What I'm going to tell you is that you're going to see crystal clear footage of Brandon Portillo at the Wonders Bar, drinking it up that night. You'll see the color of the beer he drank. You'll see the black whiskey shot he took. You're going to know that he had his first beer at 6:05, his second beer at 6:18, his first shot of whiskey at 6:44, his fourth beer at 6:53, his second shot of whiskey at 7:05, his fifth beer at 7:15, his sixth beer at 7:34, his third shot of whiskey at 7:45, his seventh beer at 7:55, his eighth beer at 8:15, his fourth shot of whiskey at 8:40, his ninth beer at 8:49, his fifth shot of whiskey at 9:12, his sixth shot of whiskey at 9:16, his seventh shot of whiskey at 9:23, his 10th beer at 9:33, and his 8th shot of whiskey at 9:37 p.m. 18 alcoholic drinks, sharing with his friends, tossing him back with his brother. He's going to get in that vehicle, and less than 10 minutes later, Officer Alan McCollum is on his back under the Carroll Lane overpass dying. Michael Love is screaming in pain, crushed with pelvic fractures, and Officer Kaomi Muniz is ignoring her own pain and injuries because of that adrenaline rush. That fight or flight kicks in, and she's radioing for help. She's trying to tell people what happened, and she's trying to get help to her brothers in blue. So when I tell you there's no reason for this to have happened, when you have 18 alcoholic drinks and that's what the evidence is going to show you, you'll see every one of them. You'll see how he was staggering. You'll see how he couldn't walk. You'll see how he almost ran into the stool. And all this is right before he leaves and makes a decision to drink and drive. The evidence will show that every unit had its flashing LED lights on when this happened. It's in the dash cam video. I don't have to just speculate. You're going to see all the lights on. You're going to see hundreds of cars passing by, having no problem avoiding this traffic stop. You're going to see the traffic stop was at the crest of the Carroll Lane overpass, which is how they're trained to do it. And you're going to hear from eyewitnesses who were on the road that night that saw Brandon Portillo literally come across 3 lanes of travel to hit those units. He wasn't driving in the lane next to the traffic stop. He almost hit, you'll hear from Javier Bolmanetto, he almost hit him, came across 3 lanes of travel to crash into those 3 units. At the end of this trial, we'll be asking you to enter guilty verdicts on all 3 counts. Not based on what I'm going to tell you, but based on what you're going to hear and see. with your own eyes throughout this case.
All right. Mr. Walsh, opposing counsel. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury. If the questioning during voir dire wasn't ominous enough, you're going to get to see why we alluded to repeatedly what you would be seeing today. And we're going to jump right out the gate with probably the most gut-wrenching video, but not the last one that you're going to see this very morning. The state is correct on one thing, is that you are going to see every single thing. Cameras have gotten far better. They're in just about every place that you go to, and y'all are going to get to watch almost everything for the entire night. This is a serious offense that's been accused here. And frankly, there's going to be a copious amount of evidence that the state is going to produce as part of their case in chief. It's understandable why they want to make this accusation and why they want to try to get a guilty verdict on this accusation. When you deal with injured police officers, the state of Texas is going to back up the interests of those police officers. Nobody in here is going to be able to watch these videos without an emotional effect. There is not going to be any dry eyes in this room by any person who is watching these videos. The only way you could avoid emotional effect is going to be to block your ears, because you're going to hear screaming and injuries. You're going to see the moment of the accident. To cover your eyes so that you don't see what happens and the effects of a traffic accident, and how quickly it goes from nothing to serious injury. The biggest thing that is going that makes me worry and fear, and why I ask so many questions in voir dire about emotion, is that I'm going to be asking y'all, and y'all are going to need to put those aside. We are all going to be emotionally impacted by the next several days of trial. And in all likelihood, nobody in this room is ever going to forget what they're going to watch. But for all the technology, all the techniques employed, all the officers that are involved, calling in help from DPS, the specialists, all the people that they're going to put up here, we still need trials like this, because not everything can be proven because you want it to be proven. And there is going to be an element that is missing. And in all likelihood, no matter what verdict you return, you are not going to like Mr. Portillo at the end of this trial. That doesn't matter. Sympathy, emotion, they can't be entered in to your fact-finding duty and your logical conclusions. They're going to fall short on one key element, and this is going to become clear as we go forward. You all have notes, notepads. I hope that you all use them, because it's going to be very difficult to keep track of things and set things aside. At the end, I'm going to be asking for y'all to go back into the jury room, deliberate on these things, and find Mr. Portillo guilty of DWI. I know it's going to be difficult. Emotion and outside pressure is going to affect what you want to do, but the facts are going to tell you what the law says is right to do. And that's what I'm going to be asking during this trial. I hope that you can do that. I hope that you can do your duty. And I appreciate your time.